Which is the main target of the new agenda for the migration problem, and in which way do you think that this agenda could help countries that are situated in the front line, like Greece, for example?
Well, the new agenda on migration, the purpose is to help Greece and Italy. This is the purpose.
Yes.
The problem is the European Union is the member states, the European Commission and the Parliament, and the problem that we have is that solidarity can be expressed very well with the European Commission and the Parliament, but when it comes to the member states, this is where the solidarity falls apart. Really, we need the member states to look at the situation of Greece, really to understand that when there is austerity, when there are economic problems, when you look at Italy taking a disproportionate number of migrants with the crisis in the Mediterranean, that we realise that the European agenda on migration should mean proper solidarity. Unfortunately, the Council, the Member States, they talk about it, but they don't really do it in practice.
Yes, really, relocation, resettlement, distribution. What do you think that all this mean to a Greek citizen of the Aegean island when he accepts 100 immigrants per day, for example?
Well, we have members of Parliament like Mr. Kirkos in the Parliament who are saying a number of things. First of all, that the Parliament should do what it can do. So we have to have a relocation programme and we have to have a resettlement programme. This is a fact. And this should help Greece and Italy first. Yeah. So those countries, in my view, should be exempt from the relocation programme, and we should relocate to other countries from those countries. We are now discussing that here in the European Parliament. This is our first duty. And, you know, we have certainly that is a Greek member of Parliament who is doing this. And we are helping on this issue. As chairman of that committee that deals with it, we are helping. But it's a much worse situation than that in Greece. We also have a bigger problem in Greece. Not only are we dealing with resettlement and relocation, but Greece is in a terrible state because it has problems for the population, of poverty now, of dislocation. So the most vulnerable in society, you know, refugees, people, detainees, immigration detainees, unaccompanied children, unfortunately they are at the bottom of the ladder in terms of help. And this is another aspect where I know Mr. Kirkos, certainly myself, we are realising that this is not an area where the European Union is helping enough.
Because now our country is suffering both from economic destabilization as well as the influx of the immigrants. And though still our citizens, they support with solidarity, with heroism, the effort to save the refugees in order to offer them a spark of hope. Well, in your opinion, taking into account the recent decisions in the European Union, where does that hope lay?
I think we're very struck by the pictures of, you know, Greek men and women who save lives of migrants, even when they are themselves not in the best economic state, you know. And we've seen this on the islands, we've seen footage of this, and this is really very courageous of those people. They need the help of the European Union, and there are two things going on here. One is the Greek economic crisis, which is one thing. The other problem is that we need, in my view, a major humanitarian programme, irrespective of what is going on with the economic issue.
Yes.
Because my worry is that there are things going on which we don't see to the most vulnerable people, which the media is not looking at the moment, which I think it will soon. If you take refugees, there will come a point where there are no funds, no money, and it worries me that, you know, you will see some very extreme things happening. And then, of course, you will see more and more scapegoating, more and more extreme situations. So Mr. Kirkos and I are looking also here at the European Union what refugee and asylum funds are available. We want to ask the Commission, are there more emergency funds available specifically for this issue? Because this is not just about helping those refugees, it's helping the Greek people. Because if the Greek people have minimal resources now, then of course
you seek for a more holistic resolution, let's say. Yes.
Because I think there is one thing, the austerity that the Greek people are going through, but when this happens, human nature is such that very few resources will go to the more vulnerable people. This is my worry. And, I still think the Greek people are very generous people. We see a lot of examples where they are helping refugees. Why do I say this? Because it's a fact that Greece is still receiving a disproportionate number. And despite this, the Greek government doesn't say negative things. And I think this is a very big positive for Greece at the moment. But it can't go on like this. If Greece and Italy don't get more help, I think we can't say we're the European Union.
So you think that the Dublin Convention has to be reformed?
My view, and I've said this before, is that the Dublin Convention is not functioning. De facto, the Dublin Convention is not really worth so much today. So of course we need to reform it, but the real problem with the Dublin Convention is that member states don't believe in it. Member states don't implement many of the directives that the Parliament and the Commission together gave to the member states. Reception conditions, the European Asylum Support Office, all sorts of directives in the so-called asylum package that we created here. What's happening is the member states don't implement these laws. Why don't they implement the laws? Because asylum is something that there are no votes in asylum and refugee issues. So many member states, even in the Mediterranean, they don't implement good laws on asylum, even if they're created here in the European Union.
So what do you propose to make them interested, to let them
I think
know?
what we need to do is we need to realise, and I'll give you another very, very difficult example. In the Refugee and Asylum Fund, sometimes member states take this money and they absorb the money into their own budgets. See, this is another example. And I think what we need to do is we need to show that if the member states don't treat relocation and resettlement seriously, if they don't give solidarity to Greece and to Italy, then the problems will come further down the line. If I give you an example, Turkey today takes over 2 million refugees, Jordan and Lebanon over 1 million. Really, if we don't take a few thousand, if we don't help Italy and Greece and take some of that burden, eventually what will happen is many asylum seekers will come illegally anyway. They will risk their lives and they will come, but they will not come legally. So if we manage the problem better, then we can return people as well when it's safe to do so.
That's right.
Because if you take a country like Syria, one day when Syria is safe, and it may not be for some time, but believe me, when it is safe, many of those people are middle class people with jobs and livelihoods. One day returns may be possible.
They will be happy to go back to
of
their
course,
country
because you're talking about architects and doctors and lawyers, and so you have to understand that there has to be a management of this situation. To just simply leave it alone, I think, is the wrong way for the European Union, because we're not telling the citizens that many are coming illegally anyway. Many are applying through the normal asylum process. Why? How do we know this? Because in Greece there are many migrants coming through the border. So when we talk about just a few thousand for resettlement, we're really trying to fool our own citizens. So it's better to manage it openly than to lie about the numbers. So I believe in management and about a humane approach, which is transparent, managed, tells the truth. But the key point is solidarity. We don't have much time.
Cooperation.
Exactly. We don't have much time to help Italy and Greece because they are suffering a big burden. And people say, well, Italy is a wealthy country. Yes, but Italy is suffering populist politics. because of the lack of solidarity. So there are many problems as a result of this. So both Greece and Italy require that we have better solidarity. And of course with Greece, not only the populist politics, but the Greek people are in a very bad situation. They need the help.
Yes. So let's hope we work on it and have some...
I want to make it a priority for us in the European Parliament Committee on Libe. And we have a very hard-working member of that committee, Mr. Kirkos. So I hope together we can make some solutions.